I always have to do the pause before. Got my good friend John Hewlett here with me. It's so good to have you here,
Great
John.
to be here. We're having our little cardio miracle.
Cardio miracle party here. Okay, I forgot to say something on my last video that I just have to bring up before we get into, we're going to talk about freeze drying the harvest right. I've been doing this today. I just found out that John's an expert, and his wife, they know how to do this. So we're going to talk a lot about that. But I just wanted to bring up something unrelated that I wanted to have in my last video. But a lot of people don't know this, but in Israel, the amount of Jews returning to Israel has hit a 20-year high. Most of it's related to Ukraine. However, this is the interesting thing. So around 42,000 in the last year, and most of them have been since the war in Ukraine. But most of the Jews returning to Israel come from Russia, more than Ukraine, which is kind of interesting because everyone would think that, you know, because of the situation in Ukraine, that all be from Ukraine. But there's more. I think it's like 12,000 from Russia and about 8,000 or so from Ukraine. Now, I know Russia's much more populated, but it is interesting. So the Lord is using a war
To gather his people.
to gather his people.
Absolutely.
It's just so cool how we look at these things and we stress about, you know, the unrest, but it all is part of
The plan.
the plan.
You know, I took Russian in 7th grade. And I still know a few words. And so occasionally I'll pop them on a Russian person, but I don't know much. But the thing that was interesting is I always thought I would go on my mission there.
Oh.
But they didn't open it. And when I went, and of
Right.
course I had a wonderful mission among the Polynesians and the Australians. But the interesting thing is when I saw Wendy Nelson, Sister Nelson, talking about speaking and finding all the 12 tribes essentially in Russia.
In Russia.
So interesting. And I also, the one time, you're a great hunter. I'm not a great hunter, but you would be jealous. I went elk hunting one time in the 90s in Mongolia. And that was
The red deer.
and this was the wapiti.
Yeah.
And I ended up getting a 6x6 elk, almost like Bullwinkle running right in front of me.
Dang.
But
That's
it was
awesome.
interesting how the Mongolian, you know, the saints, the gathering of Israel, there was a huge swath of wonderful Israelites in the Mongolia. And
just
and in
amazing.
Russia. It is amazing.
They're all over. And the cool thing is, and you know, you bring up Sister Nielsen, and the reason why, in my opinion, why so many were represented in Russia is that's the 10 tribes of the northern kingdom that were scattered 100
north.
years.
Yeah.
They went to the north.
Right.
And so that's where they're going to be. So that's where you're going to find all.
One other little Mongolian side thing, as I told you, I helped raise the money to restore Kirtland back in about 2002. We raised the initial money and then the church came in. And so I was fortunate enough to be a part of the dedication, the rededication of Kirtland when they did that, and happened to have been fortunate enough with Carl Anderson, who wrote The Savior in Kirtland, the premier author of all of those great
I
experiences.
love that book.
Well, Carl Anderson actually drinks Cardio Miracle every day. He's in his 80s, has serious neuropathy and diabetes, but it's given him his helped him do his mission. He's one of the greatest men I've ever met. But when I was there for the dedication, Elder Maxwell, who I had known growing up, I was able to help be a part of a tour taking him around with Sister Maxwell.
How cool.
Back then, and it was, you know, his health wasn't great, but it wasn't as bad as it eventually got.
Yeah.
But in the School of the Prophets, which is to
the
me
upper
one of
room
the temples of Kirtland,
No
one of the
question.
greatest, holiest places on earth. They had 2 missionaries that were giving the tour for all of the VIPs for the dedication. And there was a 6'1" Mongolian sister. And I thought to myself, what is the irony of being in Kirtland with a 6-foot
Mongolian
Mongolian
sister.
sister missionary talking to us with tears flowing down her face, bearing her testimony and how much she loved the gospel. And I thought, wow, you talk about the gathering of Israel.
There you go.
There it was,
Right
right
there.
for that. So that was a great thing.
You know, you bring up Kirtland, and I love it because what, 2/3 or so of the Doctrine and Covenants was
Occurred there
revealed
between the Johnson farm, the Morley farm,
Right there.
the Whitney store.
Yep.
Absolutely.
all there. And you know, I know the gathering, I know the New Jerusalem and Jackson County, but in my opinion, what it talks about, what was going to take place in the New Jerusalem with heavenly angels and the cloud over it, it all took place at the Kirtland Temple.
Kirtland, more spiritual, deity-oriented spiritual experiences in Kirtland than all other recorded places combined.
Yeah.
It was the day of Pentecost. It was the refiner's fire, the Spirit of God, the baptism by fire of all of our pioneer ancestors. It's an amazing place. And I had nothing to do with it. I got recruited into, back when I was making money, in trying to help raise the money for that. And my gosh, that was an amazing experience, life altering, and being there. And of course, getting to know Carl Anderson,
His book is incredible.
Well, and for and most people, you know, if you said how many times has the Father and the Son revealed himself, you know, to mankind, they'd say, 3, 4, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Well, in that book, there's like 20. I mean, it's like
And
over
it's all
the top,
there.
and it's all there.
Yeah.
And all validated through multiple journals, not just things that Joseph said.
There's another book by Truman Madsen. It's not very thick, but it's about the prophet Joseph. But there's a whole section just on Kirtland that really condenses all the things, particularly the dedication of the temple and the events that led up to
Amazing.
that. Just amazing.
Yeah.
Okay, good deal. So we got all that taken care of. So I told you a little while ago, Sue bought a harvest right. We went in with two of my sons and their families. And
It's going to cause some family fights over who gets to use it.
Who gets to use it. And so somehow, some way, I ended up being the one that had to set it up, read the directions, and watch a lot of YouTube videos on what to do.
There's some great, by the way, for those who may, if you want to, if you do go buy one, tell them that Scott Palmer sent you, because I think they have a referral program and he doesn't even know how to get credit for that. But I probably helped sell 50 of them in the last couple of years, and I think I got credit for one. But the exciting thing is they have fantastic Facebook and social media groups that
Whole
can answer
groups.
all kinds of questions. So there's a real good support group. But you got to be prepared going in. They've had a real challenge keeping up. They are so overwhelmed and have sold so many of them the last 5 years that there's some dissatisfied customers and things like that. And some people have some problems getting their parts and having a few mistakes and things that happen. So be patient, but I'll tell you what, it's the best investment I've made in the last couple of years.
Well, I had to, and it was a miracle. So I'm getting all set up, and then I realized that the plug is an
220.
It's not 220. It's
Is it a hex kind of thing where you got?
It has one prong this way and one prong sideways, and it's so most is 110, and I think this is like 120 or 115. It's odd.
I know is we had to hire an electrician and wired ours.
That's what I did. And my son called. So here I have it, and I'm supposed to get all these fresh strawberries done that my wife bought. And
strawberries don't last too long.
And strawberries don't last too long, so I'm like, dang. So he calls the guy. Guy shows up. He has all the parts. They're used, which is fine. And he wires it. We did it out in our barn that I have. It's heated and cooled out there, so
close to a freezer,
and it's close,
which is good.
Close to everything.
Yeah.
So anyway, within a half hour, he had it wired and ready to go. I was just like,
that's fantastic.
Because I've tried calling an electrician the other day
they're 6 months out.
Yeah,
I mean, so you can't even find them.
Carpenter was like, maybe next year I can do some stuff. I was like, okay.
And it's literally, what do you charge? He said, whatever I want.
Yeah,
Because I've
exactly.
got so many people who need it.
So you're right. There's some things that you need to know, whether to get a pump that uses
The oil or not.
We went with the more expensive one that doesn't, because
We have that as well, and that's good for me because I'm not near as technical as you or as handy.
And I just don't want the hassle. So I said no oil. I want the oilless. I know it's louder.
That's what I went for.
It's louder, but we have it in a place that's not an issue. But it's not super loud.
I think they have announced a new one that you only have to change the oil like every 20 batches.
They do.
And they say it's quieter. So if the noise is an issue or you don't know where to put it, we've got ours in part of our restored cabin area near our freezer. So the only place you hear it is when you're walking nearby that.
Yeah.
But you do want to make sure that it's convenient to a refrigerator and to your prep area or freezer, so that you can get it in and out of those
Because I'm walking a lot back and forth. But you know what? Right now...
Well, but the sound is good, and it takes about 2 days to process.
So, and the other thing I didn't know is that if it's frozen already, the time is cut. If you put it in and it's not frozen, it has to freeze it first.
Right. So we always freeze it. We have a chest freezer. We put it in the chest freezer,
it in there,
and you can actually stack it in there. They stack good on each other.
These are the trays with the liners.
Yeah, and the liners are essential.
Yeah, you got to have
Make it a lot easier to clean.
Yeah.
Easy to clean.
Yeah.
There's only a few things to avoid. You can't do honey. You can't do butter. You can't do certain things that have too much fat in it.
Yeah, and the way I think it was one of the YouTubes I watched, they said that basically if something already lasts a long time, you don't need it. It won't work. Like honey, like peanut butter.
Yeah. You don't need a freeze-dried pasta, for example.
It's already
storable. It'll honey lasts forever. I mean, they probably found honey in the bottoms of the pyramids.
Exactly.
I mean,
but fruits, vegetables, meats, and sauces. John just did a bunch of pasta sauce, so he cooked all the meat, did the sauce. He has a special recipe. Olives and peppers and mushrooms. And then you pour it in the tray.
Pour it in the tray, freeze it, prepare it, and then it comes out. It comes out like ragu peanut brittle. You break it into pieces, and then we just did actually this morning. Janny we did 2 trays of sour cream, and it came out like powdered milk.
That's just crazy.
And it tasted great. But I said, hey, we're going to want sour cream, on our mashed reconstituted potatoes, or as a part of them. So when times are there. But I was telling Scott, I'm a financial guy. And for those, and this is for the ladies to tell your husbands who are cheap and don't want to invest in one. If you buy pork on sale, you buy brisket on sale, you buy
listen to this. This is good.
On sale. Pork, if you look up with one of the top freeze dryer companies, it's about $60 to $80 for like 1 pound of freeze-dried food, 1 pound and 3 ounces or 13 ounces even. It's unbelievable.
So this is like the backpack stuff that you would buy, or
even in the food storage, freeze-dried of a high-quality one.
Yeah, not for Patriot, but Patriot.
Patriot Food Supply or Thrive, or there's a lot of good.
There's a lot of good, and it's good stuff. But
it's really good.
Is it expensive?
Very expensive. So even though you're paying $5,000 or $5,500 for the top of the line, or $3,800 for the lesser one, the smaller one, which is great, or sharing the cost with someone. But let me tell you about the investment. You go and buy. The best buy. I'm a shopper and I'm a mathematical guy. So I'm walking through the grocery store. I'm thinking about, this is what it costs at Costco. This is what it costs at Smith's. This is what it costs at Harmon's. And I'm a bargain shopper. I'm the guy who goes with I don't go with coupons, but at the end of the day, she goes, you just saved 40%. How did you do that? Well, when I see things on sale, I buy a bunch of them. And now with the freeze dryer, you can just really come out smoking really, really well. So pork shoulder is like $1.99. Sometimes you can get it for 99 cents or $1.29. Your Thanksgiving sales, your 4th of July sales, your Labor Day sales. I saw T-bone steaks the other day for $5.99. $5.99. And yet other times they're now $18. So if you shop the specials, that's where the freeze dryer is going to save you a lot of money. But if you do the pork, for example, and you do the shoulder, you put it in the Instapot, You put it in with a little mustard. Maybe you put it in with some crushed pineapple, tender, delicious, 75 minutes later, falling off the bone, shredded, easy to shred. Mix it up with a little soy sauce.
All the fats
rendered off. You're great. Pull the bone falls right off. You don't have to sit and carve your fingers to nub them, even though you have better knives than I do. And so you have to be careful if you don't have good knives. I'm too cheap, I guess, to have good knives. But the pork ends up being about 20-1. If you buy it on sale and you spend $40 on the pork, you're going to end up with $800 of commercially retail food storage for that $40.
That's crazy.
Plus about $6 to process the load. They figure it's about $3 to $5 for the electricity and everything else. So 20-1. And sometimes if you can get it for 99 cents or get a real smoking special on something, you can get I've been as high as 28, 30-1 on the beef or the chicken or the pork. That's the best deals. Beef, I can generally get hamburger to about 15-1. So that means for every $10 worth of hamburger, you're getting $150 worth of a freeze-dried benefit. And it'll last for 25 years. And it tastes great. Freeze-dried is so much better than the old storage food.
And the nutritional...
nutritional value is over 90% on frozen, freeze-dried food.
Freeze-dried, not dehydrated.
Not dehydrated, but freeze-dried.
Freeze-dried.
And then vegetables and fruit. Of course, if you grow in your own garden, other than the fact that you earn 25 cents an hour for your time working in the garden, and you have a bad back and a sunburn and skin cancer.
Hey, other than that,
how did you like the play, Mrs. Lincoln? So the reality is fruits and vegetables is about 8 to 10-1. And we have frozen fruit galore. So we go and buy fruit from Costco. We buy it from Smith's. And we buy 3 pounds for $9.99 or $8.99. Triple berry or the organic little miniature blueberries that I love. And we use those all year round in smoothies, on cereal, in oatmeal and whatever. But we have a whole attic full of freeze-dried fruits, vegetables. I was telling Scott, I won't tell you where I live, but we've done over $100,000 retail for probably less than $15,000. Since we bought ours. So
you pay for it after a few
You pay for
times.
it in about 5 loads if you get the right type of thing. Seriously.
And if you do have a garden, the problem with the garden is a lot of it comes on all at once.
And it's going to go bad, or you give it all away,
or you give it away, and you're like, why did I do this? And now, and it's light. You can store it.
It doesn't weigh anything. It weighs about 1/10 of what the normal thing weighs.
You can't believe how much water goes into the bucket.
It's like a gallon of water for a tray of 5 things of strawberries.
Exactly. I was like, are you kidding me? Yeah. The whole thing is water.
Yeah. So it's really amazing. So tell the Harvest Right people that Scott Palmer sent you. And
tell them Suzanne did it. Suzanne Palmer,
and then if you have any service problems, blame them. Don't blame Watcher Palmer, because he can't stand behind it. But I'm telling you, I know it's a big expense.
Yeah,
but
it
I'm
is.
Telling
and
you,
if you can't, you can't. But
it's like anything. But hunger is worse.
Yeah.
And this, seriously, the other day, I do a lot of the shopping. And so I'm at Smith's. The bargains, I find so many bargains at Smith's for some reason. So there's a little commercial for Smith's. Plus you get 50, 60 cents off your gas. So a little bit of a bargain hunter for me. And Heber's closer to me than other stores. So that's where I go to the Smith's in Heber. But distilled water is either non-existent or $1.99. It used to be 89 cents 3 months ago. 89 cents, now it's $1.99. And every container of every product is smaller, except for gallons of milk, eggs still are 12, but everything else, everything in a package is smaller. I got a Pellegrino blood orange soft drink the other day, and I looked at it and I thought, the can's the same size. But underneath the can, the bevel going up was like this big. And it was 11.5 ounces, and it used to be 13.5 ounces or whatever. So we're in challenging times. And that's one of the challenges we've had with Cardio Miracle is we haven't raised our prices in 3 years. And that's why I'm so grateful we've had an amazing response from the Palmer subscribers. And it's so gratifying to see, because we can help fund the time, effort, and expense of doing this while giving everybody a great deal and helping to improve their health. And it's been so fun to read the comments, most of them. I get spoiled after having 99% of the comments are over the top, people crying, calling me, thanking me for helping them change and save their life. And then occasionally you get somebody who goes, well, how come you have to pay for shipping? And I said, well, I don't know. Have you bought gas lately? I mean, good heavens. I mean, the post office is good. The other day I heard from the post office, they said, don't be surprised if we are raising the price of stamps and postage every 3 months. I mean, and then I look at the poor truckers who are paying $7 for diesel.
It's crazy.
It's unbelievable. And so, that's why storing food, that's why getting a nutritional product that can replace 3/4 of the other supplements you might take, and also keeping your health, for heaven's sakes. I mean, when you're not able to work, or when you're not able to walk or function, what's it worth?
What's it worth?
What's it worth? I mean, life is the quality of life. And we have our programs, our subscription is our best deal for everyone. But if you just want to try it, you get a 20% off Watch Your Palmer discount. But we can't give everybody everything. So we can't give you all the free shipping and all the rewards points and all the other things we do, or else we're going to have to raise our prices more than we're probably going to have to address sometime this fall. But you know what? The good news is when we hear people, and I sent you an email, Scott. I got an email from my customer service people, and a 60-year-old, obese, diabetic, hypertensive, literally disabled African-American in New York City. And he wrote, and in 3 weeks, he was off his oxygen. He was off his oxygen. And he's
off some medication,
off
too.
Medications. He's saying, I have energy. This has given me my life back. And then I ended up I called him on the phone. And I'm going to be calling some of you. I've decided I'm going to take a special interest in the Palmers. In fact, today I wanted to come over and see
John's
Scott.
at our house.
Yeah, I came to their house.
Great.
It's great to come over, and wanted to share some of the excitement. And then he told me about the food storage. So I thought, man, I gotta help him learn the ropes in this food storage thing. So it's been great. But we have seen unbelievable results already from many of you, and we love seeing the comments. We want you to share those comments, and I'll just put it out there. If any of you have somebody who is in chronic need or financial need or whatever, and they need help, you just text me or you contact me, and I'll personally take care of them one way or another, because we're in it for the mission of wanting to help make the world a better place, give people their life back. We want to be strong enough. We want to help the hearts of mankind to be able to be strong enough to endure the challenge of these last days, which are upon us.
One thing you said to me right when we got, we hadn't seen each other for 20-something years, and I was having the surgery. We've told the story, and John reached out to me, and you shared the scripture where men's hearts
would fail them in the latter days.
And we always think of it in a spiritual sense, which is
Probably
right.
there.
But
that was before we knew even what the word myocarditis was.
Exactly. And so men's heart failing is literal and spiritual.
Exactly. And every day. I mean, I was reading last night, and I'm following all of this through the alternative side, and I've been so proud to know someone as courageous as Scott and Sue Palmer, because it's lonely out there sometimes. When you've got your family and everybody else who thinks you're a McCarthyist or whatever, that you're a President Benson, John Birch Society wacko. It's really difficult. And so when I've so admired those who have put it out there of speaking truth without losing their faith.
Yeah.
Because I taught my priesthood lesson this last week, and it was on President Nelson's talk. and it was talking about spiritual momentum.
Oh yeah, the momentum.
And
I love that.
I
That
was talking
good.
about, so when I was thinking about and working about that seriously, brothers and sisters, I would call you, it's all about spiritual experiences. It's all about having gifts of the Spirit. And if your health is bad, and if you can't function, or if you're in pain, or if your brain is fogged because of statin drugs and a million other side effects from other prescription drugs, how can you respond to the voice of the Spirit? Yeah, it's very difficult.
Very difficult.
And, you know, as you can tell, I'm not Jack LaLanne here or Tony Robbins. I'm just a guy who didn't know anything about this 14 years ago, 15 years ago. But I have seen so many miracles, literal miracles. And a miracle isn't, you know, turning water into wine in today's world. A miracle is anything that we don't understand that is occurring, that is true, but we can't really figure it out.
Figure it out. That's right.
And so when I ended up deciding to name my own product, I said, Cardio Miracle. And somebody said, oh, it's kind of cheesy. And I said, it's kind of cheesy, but nitric oxide was called the miracle molecule.
Yeah.
It's something that did something nothing else ever did. And I said, and I'm seeing these miracles for 5 years everywhere I go. So I'm going to call it what it is and take the static. So now people say, oh, what a great name. But in those early days, it was, man, what's that? This sounds like snake oil to the max. And so that's why we have spent hundreds of thousands of dollars trying to prove scientifically that this is everything that we're espousing it to be. And we can't make medical claims. I could tell you stories that would boggle everyone's mind, but I've seen seen it firsthand. I've heard it firsthand. And that's why I love the comments, because you guys can say whatever you want in the comment side. And I love seeing people saying, oh my gosh, I feel this, and I've seen this, and this has happened to me, and my doctor says, what's going on? And, you know, just like your ankle. I mean, you know, you said, I don't know how it works or whatever, but, you know, when you have a 64-year-old person whose orthopedic surgeon says they've had the best recovery ever.
Yeah.
And it's not like you're the best patient ever.
Probably
you're probably very impatient. And then you go climbing over a bunch of pine trees up in the Wind River and try to kill yourself. I mean, so the reality is we see these stories every day. And we see it with shoulder replacement. We see it with knee replacement. We see it with people with their blood pressure issues, their blood chemistry issues. We see it with the symptoms of autoimmune diseases. We see all of these things. But when you improve blood flow and you improve and reduce inflammation, and you're getting the nutrition to the cell through being absorbable and bioavailable, only good things can happen.
Yeah.
And now you have people thinking you look young. I mean, you had somebody actually put in a comment, Scott, you look much better. So I don't know, I'm probably a bad example, but I'm 70 in a couple of days. So I'm in my 70th year.
Oh, that's awesome.
But I should have been dead 17 years ago.
Yeah.
I should have been dead. In fact, I had a lot of people who said that they used to see me at the Jazz games and they'd see me shuffling around and they thought, man, that John Hewlett, he's not long for this earth. And now, yeah, I still shuffle and I still have my issues, but I'm here and I'm kicking.
And bright and...
Yeah, well, still enthusiastic, energetic.
Yeah. Well, there was a lady that commented, I think I shared it with you, her son was running, I think it was his
first marathon.
First marathon, and he got a cold.
He was sick before the race.
So his mom said...
She gives him some Cardio Miracle.
And I don't know how long before the race he took it, and I don't know how, if he did it a couple of times or what. I don't know that. She didn't give the details.
She said he finished and felt great.
He felt wonderful through the whole race. I'm like, I've run some marathons before, and that's...
You don't feel very good.
You don't feel very good, so that's great.
And really one of the biggest keys, and this is what I was asking you about the other day, when you talked about that you were hammered in the garden after you're working the whole day.
Yeah.
And I texted you and I said, how did you feel the next day? Because I'll bet you didn't feel like you'd been run over by a truck.
That's exactly right.
And I didn't know that, but I've seen that happen thousands of times. There was a time where I was out shoveling gravel on our road up at our ranch, and I was a puddle. I mean, I was spent because I'm not in condition to be doing that. The next day, no soreness.
Yeah.
Now that's shocking because it used to be, major exertion, 3 days, second day you could barely even stand up
Right.
or be able to walk. Let's say you're at church and you feel like you've been just run over by a John Deere. So that's one of the keys, because when you increase the blood flow, you also are increasing the contraction of the lymphatic system. So it helps get the garbage out. So you're delivering
the acid,
the lactic acid.
the lactic acid,
Before
that's what-
the ammonia, before it becomes lactic acid, gets
okay.
eliminated, because the nitric oxide stimulates that contraction. See, your heart pumps everything out through 100,000 miles of arteries and capillaries. The lymphatic system brings everything in, but it doesn't have a pump. It's self-pumping through the lymphatic contraction. And this helps the strengthening of the lining of the lymph system, so it's able to pump better. That's also why on my next test of theories is that it could have a big impact on the big D or the big A, dementia. Because most of the research, it changes a lot. Now it's back to inflammation is the major cause of Alzheimer and dementia, which is the most dreaded thing as you get our age that you think about as a chronic disease, that and maybe ALS and, losing your sight and neuropathy and having amputated legs like our, Larry Miller. That was heartbreaking to watch what he went through.
Yeah.
I actually tried to get to Larry like 3 times, sat and waited to try to get him to before this was my previous product that had helped me. I just felt it would help him, but I never could get to him. But they've said that they think that the cognitive diseases are caused by tangles of proteins, that they get tangled. Well, the reason they get tangled is because the lymphatic system in the brain. This is where medical science is interesting. Medical science didn't even know or acknowledge that we had a lymphatic system above our shoulders until like 2017. They didn't even know it went above. Now, if you ask a massage therapist, she knew, but science never didn't know. You can look it up. It's shocking.
That's crazy.
But the reason what happened is they were examining the cadavers. The lymph system is so finite that it would shrink and dry up and was like invisible. So they could see the bigger capillaries and the arteries, but the lymph system essentially almost vanished. It virtually vanished.
Wow.
So they didn't know that you had a lymph system in your brain. And they didn't know you had a lymph system in your teeth, in your gums. You have a lymph system everywhere. And so that is the garbage person who's trying to clear out the trash before it festers and stinks. And that's what essentially chronic illness in a lot of ways is the cell getting rid of its waste products, the blood filtering out its waste products, and either toxifying, making your liver or your kidneys pretty bad shape. That's why nitric oxide has had such remarkable results with people with kidney issues, kidney failure, liver issues with triglycerides. They've seen tremendous benefits with the C-reactive protein. In fact, my email from that guy in New York, his C-reactive protein did some really amazing things in a short period of time that I cannot say. But it was remarkable.
So when guys our age are worried about prostate cancer, and then you hear, we have friends or my family, older, and they found the cancer in their lymph. Their lymph node. That's what you're talking about.
Right.
That's kind of
that's part of the fact that the lymph system, if it's too stagnant, then it all comes back to our body is made of cells, and cells are replicating. And if there's too much carbon dioxide and not enough oxygen and not enough nitric oxide, the cell becomes abnormal. Abnormal cells that replicate clump together and become a tumor. A tumor then encapsulates itself. A doctor comes in, sticks a knife in it, spills the tumor all over the body and says, yes, you've got a problem. And then they go in and start giving you radiation and chemotherapy or cut it out. Where if the body's functioning properly, the cells are replicating with adequate oxygen, carbon dioxide exchange, and nitric oxide. And we stop producing our nitric oxide at teenage and young adult levels in your early 30s. And as you get older, depending on the toxic nature of your lifestyle, your diet, you're not working in the yard, or you're just sitting out and playing video games or watching television and being depressed, then you're going to have abnormal cell replication. And so what you want to do is boost your nitric oxide safely, which is why we formulated this the way we have, and then make sure you get adequate oxygen and blood flow, because blood flows everything. And then the other thing is that's why I have 53 ingredients. Most nitric oxide products have 10. I have 53 because I wanted anti-inflammatories, I wanted antioxidants, I wanted trace minerals, I wanted selenium. I mean, we've got, I hate to say it, everything but the kitchen sink in this. But the good news is our scientists that we're paying all this money to analyze it against 10 million clinical studies, every time I talk to him, he goes, in his broken Austrian English, he goes, "This is a beautiful thing, John." He goes, "How did you, such a stupid person, come up with this?" And I said, "Well, I think it was divine. All I do, I'm not spiritual enough to hear the voice. The couple of times in my life when I heard the voice, I was at the end of the rope to being killed, and I heard the voice. But most of the time, I just feel it. Mm-hmm. And then I just go. I go, I feel, I go, I do. That's what I do. That's my way of functioning as a male ego, whatever, in trying to be responsive to the promptings of the Spirit. And I was telling this priesthood class Sunday, I was saying, when you're on your mission, if you were at your peak, everything was a spiritual experience.
Right.
When you're a bishop or a stake president or a church leader, an elders quorum president, when you're at your peak, the Spirit guided you constantly and you got used to that. When you become normal and you're in business, and if you're not studying and you're not meditating and you're not serving, I'm a huge believer that it's all about activity and service. Mm-hmm. That when you're serving, when you're in the service of your fellow man, you're in the service of your God. I believe that you can then feel the promptings and you'll make the right choices if you're willing. It's the old thing, don't pray to ask the Lord to guide your footsteps if you're not willing to move your feet. And so I'm a foot mover, and I'll be driving along and the Spirit will somehow get through my egotistical hard head and say, go see brother so-and-so. And I'll go see him and they'll go, oh my gosh. And frankly, that's what happened with you. When I saw your video and you said that, I thought, I don't know if Scott, would even want to see me. Of course. But I said, I need to go see Scott Palmer. And, let me just tell you, I feel like that I've been given this opportunity to answer people's prayers in their physical affliction, because these are simple answers. They're simple answers. If you increase your vitamin D, if you increase the absorbability of the B vitamins, if you increase and elevate your nitric oxide, only good things can happen. Mm-hmm. Now, it's not going to solve everything for everyone. I had somebody the other day say, how long does it take for you to know when it can improve you? And I said, well, depends on how long it took you to get sick. I mean, if it took you 30 years to get in this bad position, you should give this at least 30 days. Don't think that, well, I don't feel no different, so, Mabel, send it back and get the money. Yeah. So, but we have a money back guarantee, and we only want people who want to take it. Right. And then we're busting it to try to find, and if you'll refer other people, just like with Harvest Right, then it allows the company to prosper enough to be able to do more good. So there's a place for supporting people who are trying to do good, if in fact, and these are challenges with the financial thing, and that's why we have our little referral program that you refer to other people, and eventually yours is free while you're helping other people. So that's why we like to do that.
So maybe it would be good if someone just wants to try it, to do that 20%. Don't go in the...
Right. Yeah, don't go in the auto ship or whatever if you're nervous about that.
But then if you've had a good experience with it, then it would be better to
go on the
auto ship.
Yeah, you get 15% off, plus you get free shipping, which is another 10 to 15%. Mm-hmm. Plus you get 10% in our cardio rewards. You're getting over 30% off If you become, and people say, well, how come the Palmer guys don't get $20 off plus all the other stuff, free shipping? I said, I'm giving Palmer's followers the best discount to start with.
Yeah.
But you don't want me to discriminate against the rest of our loyal customers who've helped us. You know, we want to treat everyone fairly, but we wanted a good incentive
to try it, just
to try it, just to see the lives we can bless. And it's already in the hundreds. It's been amazing to see. And I can tell you that I've watched hundreds of thousands of lives change over the last 15 years by reintroducing nitric oxide into their life. I've seen it firsthand. Awesome. And I hear the miracles every day. So God bless everyone for their willingness to give it a thought. One other thing that I was mentioning, Scott, is that we were part of the mask, the mask mandate, Prosecute Now, the legal team.
Oh yeah, I want to hear an update on that.
Well, we won the case in Florida, which everyone's throwing their masks off in the airplanes and everything. That was our legal guy that we're helping to build the case. We have the case in Utah. The federal government made kind of a weak secondary response to our initial lawsuit against the president and all of the regulators. And we're in close proximity with both the legislature and the Attorney General's office here in Utah and in other places. Of course, some of you may know that I met with DeSantis 2 weeks ago. It's 2 weeks ago today.
That's awesome.
Unbelievable.
So cool.
Had a great lunch with him, great guy, and, really hopeful. This is a Catholic who actually still believes in Catholic principles. The original, as far as abortion and individual liberties and the Constitution, figure that. So it was nice to do that. But also we fought a case with, our guy argued the case to make sure that two Republican legislators from Arizona weren't taken off the ballot. They were trying to take them off the ballot because they said they were indirectly had something to do with January 6th, the big smoke screen. Yeah. So we've got top-notch attorneys. So I would highly recommend, if you're concerned about our country, go and register on prosecutenow.com. Prosecutenow.com. It's a nonprofit. We're funding it with our sales of Cardio Miracle and other things, and we're trying to create 30 million patriots that we can impact all future elections to find constitutional, God-fearing, God-loving patriots who want to help save our country. And that's what we're doing. We're doing something about it. And the good news is we're actually having success. And so now people are calling us. Other attorney generals are stepping up a little bit. Governors are seeing DeSantis, landslide popularity, fundraising like nothing else. And they're starting to say, maybe I don't want to be as woke as I am because DeSantis is making us all look kind of bad.
I wish our governor would wake up.
Well, we'll see how that goes. But you know what? If they don't wake up, part of our objective is to find people who will do it and do it in a way to help prepare. And it's like anything else. Because it's easy at times, people say to me, yeah, but if the second coming's, within the next decade, which I happen to subscribe to that theory, that thought, why bother? It's all in the Lord's hands. He's never allowed us to slide.
No.
He's never said, just sit and, one of the things, I love the Seventh-day Adventists. And you probably remember that one of the great religious evangelical times was the Millerites. It was the same time as Joseph Smith, 1844. And they thought the world was going to end in 1844. And they all gathered together, went up to upstate New York. They were having square dances and barbecues every night, waiting for the Lord to come. And he didn't come. And everyone was devastated because they thought, William Miller, you betrayed us.
Yeah, you led us astray.
And a 17-year-old girl, a follower of William Miller, came up to William Miller and said, or came up to the people and said, no, Jesus only went from this part of heaven to the other part of heaven. Her name was Ellen G. White, 17-year-old, who believed she had a vision. She was a contemporary, actually coming on through that of the last years of course, of Joseph Smith's life. She was the founder of the Seventh-day Adventists. So the Millerites were dancing for the end of the world in 1844. And when it didn't occur, that's when Ellen G. White emerged and said, no, you missed the memo. He moved from one part of heaven to the other. And then she spent her life as a missionary with some of the greatest people I've ever known. I love the Seventh-day Adventists. I never could baptize one of their ministers. I got 5 other ministers on my mission, but I never got a Seventh-day Adventist. But I got a couple.
Where did you serve?
I was in Melbourne, Australia in 1970, right out of high school, because summer of my junior year, my father was called to be the mission president in Melbourne. So I spent my senior year with my grandmother, who was the soloist for the Tabernacle Choir in 1930. So every time you bash my choir, you're bashing my family. My grandfather was president of the choir for 30 years, took him on television. My grandmother was the soloist, my mom was in it. But that's okay. But we'll set that aside. We'll leave you that one alone. But I stayed with my grandmother for my senior year in high school, and then I went right on a mission. I was the only guy on the East High baseball team wearing garments for the last 2 weeks of the season after I was ordained by Oscar Walter McConkie Jr.
Oh, Oscar.
Who was his son, the third, was my dear friend, and his father ordained me because my father was overseas. And then I joined my parents. I spent 14 months in Australia, had an amazing experience there. And then the church committee out of left field transferred me to New Zealand. So they said, you need to go and get a Polynesian heart. And so I had the most amazing 10 months in New Zealand. Okay. Loved the Polynesian people and learned more about faith. And one of my little mentors was this little short 70-year-old Maori lady who was Matthew Cowley's secretary.
Oh my goodness.
And she adopted me and followed me around the mission. And the mission president couldn't quite deal with her because she was like royalty of Maori extraction. And he called me up on the phone and said, will you please take care of Sister Davies for me? He says, and so she would call me at like 3 a.m. and say, Elder, I need a blessing. It's like,
okay.
So I had the most amazing mission, the tough, hard-nosed Australians, where I met a lot of evangelicals. And Ellen White had a huge following in Australia. The Seventh-day Adventists. Seventh-day Adventists, there's a bunch of them. And then I went to New Zealand with, a lot of inactive Polynesians, but have faith. Matthew Cowley and Robert L. Simpson, and great stories of, it's the old raising people from the dead. And the guy who said to his family, he turns from his deathbed after being raised from the dead, and he goes, call the elders, I don't feel very good. And after Matthew Cowley brought him back from the dead. So I had a great experience. So that's awesome. That's part of who I am and what's important to me. What's important to me is people. And so God bless the Watcher Palmer group, and just so proud to know Scott and Sue, and I'm really impressed that they're now Harvest Right people. But just know that our commitment is we want only the best for our friends and our customers, and we view it as a supreme compliment that Scott, and along with Meridian Magazine and others that we're talking with, have chosen to endorse it, as well as some of the top alternative people in the whole world are now endorsing Cardio Miracles. So Palmer's in good company. We'll try to live up to it, but we have a money back guarantee, so you've got nothing to lose but to give it a try.
Awesome. Thanks, John. This has been great. I hope you all just, give it a shot, give it a try, and let it be a blessing in your life like it has been for us. And it's fun just talking about all this, everything. It's just been great. We'll do it again.
We've got a shot at helping to save this country, but everyone can do a little bit. And we want to influence county sheriffs, which are the supreme law enforcement in every county. We want to influence legislatures. We want to influence governors. We'll do our part. If we eventually get 30 million people, we're going to have a big stick for the national elections as well. But we can do something locally that's going to impact 90% of your daily life. And that's what Prosecute Now is doing. And our commitment is not that we're not saying that everybody's evil or whatever. We're just saying we want transparency and truth and righteous Judeo-Christian, not just Latter-day Saint, Judeo-Christian ethics and worship which is what our founders were founded upon. And we know all those founders were divinely sent. And
The Holy
they've
Bible.
Yeah,
the Holy Bible.
The Holy Bible. And so, you know, if not us, who? And we are they. We are they. We've got to do our part. And I admire Scott's and Sue's dedication so much. And we're just delighted to be a part of it. So thank you.
Thanks, John. Okay, love you all. We'll take care and we'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.